Hello everyone, warm welcome to Testbook Super Coaching. My name is Madhav Sir. I welcome you all in a brand new series where we are going to discuss or we are going to start with a very important area, that is finance. As we all know that finance section is one of the important section for your RBI Grade B examination, because the questions from finance are going to be asked in phase 1 general awareness part, as well as we have separate topic or examination for finance and management in phase 2, and the majority questions in your interview are going to be based on finance. Why I'm saying so? Because RBI is a financial organization and it's quite obvious that finance is going to play a really very important role in the examination. So before any further delay, let's begin the discussion. But before I begin the discussion, may I have a answer in the comment section that I am audible, visible, everything is fine, we are good to go, so that we can begin the discussion without any further delay. If you are aiming for RBI Grade B 2025 examination and you want to clear this exam in the very first go, then we brings to you 2025 beginner series for finance, where we will be discussing the basics of finance. And today I'm going to start with a very important topic, and the topic for today is Indian financial system. So we will be discussing the term what is financial system, then we'll discuss the structure of financial system in India, and slowly we will be moving ahead and discovering and covering each and every topic of finance, so that you can get super duper ready for your upcoming examination before May 2025. So let's begin the discussion, guys. Let's start the discussion with the term Indian financial system. If anyone asks you, what do you understand by the word financial system, then how you are going to reply? Whenever we talk about financial system, basically a system which involves the flow of finance is included in the category of financial system. For in a very simple language, if I say banks, they involve the flow of finances in the form of deposit as well as in the form of loan. Obviously they become a part of financial system. This is the first one. The second point, if I move ahead, then I would say in the financial system, the second important area or the important organization can be the insurance sector, because in insurance sector you're not insuring your asset, or you're not only insuring yourself, even insurance sector is a good avenue of investment. Again, there is a flow of finances. Then we have, if I move ahead, then we have mutual funds. So mutual funds, again, it's a company which help you to invest in the financial market of the country. Again, there is a flow of funds. Again, there is investment. So whenever there is flow of funds, in order to earn return, in order to safeguard your funds, and for many other reasons, whenever we witness the flow of funds, that is basically termed as a financial organization, or the system is basically termed as a financial system. So today I will be discussing with you the Indian financial system in much detail. The moment I switch my discussion to the Indian financial system, we have 4 important components in the financial system. If I talk about the 4 important components, the first one we have is financial institutions. The first one we have is financial institutions. If I move ahead, the second one we have is financial market. We have financial market. The third component includes the financial instruments. Third component is the financial instruments. And if I say the last component is the financial services. So whenever we study, whenever we discuss, whenever we talk about any financial system, we start our discussion of the financial system with these 4 components. The first one we have the financial institutions, Second one we have is financial market. The third one we have financial instruments, and the fourth one we have the financial services. Now, let's begin our discussion with the first point, that is financial institutions. The moment I use this word financial institutions, and if I ask you how you define or how well you understand the financial institutions, then what will be your answer? So whenever we talk about the financial institutions, we can broadly classify the financial institutions into two different categories. The first one is the organized sector, and the other one we have is the unorganized sector. In the organized sector, we have the regulatory bodies, then we have the banking sector, then we have the non-banking sector or non-banking financial institutes, then we have the other financial institutes, and many more. So let's try to figure out and let's try to bifurcate our financial system into different categories. Please pay attention. Guys, just give me a second. It may take a while. Just give me a second. Okay, the moment we say Indian financial system, please pay attention on the screen. Whenever we use this word Indian financial system, first of all, we have the financial institutes. The first point we have is the financial institutes. Now, in case of financial institutes, we can classify the financial institutes into different categories. The first category would be the organized sector, where I will be including all the financial institutes which are managed or regulated by an authority, and we call them as the organized sector. The other one we have the unorganized sector. The other one we have the unorganized sector. So in case of organized sector, the first sector or the first institute from where we should start our discussion is the regulatory bodies. It is the regulatory bodies, the organizations, the institutes which are responsible to regulate the financial institution or that particular sector. On the second part, we have the banking institutions. The second part we have is the banking institutions. The third category we have the non-banking institutes. The non-banking institutes, and the non-banking institutes can be divided into further non-banking financial corporations. We call them as NBFCs. Then we have financial institutes other than bank. I'll say other financial institutes, which include, for example, we have insurance sector, which include insurance sector. And the third one in the same category, we have all India financial institutes. All India financial institutes. In the category of all India financial institutes, we include NABARD, National Bank for Agriculture and Rural Development. Then we have Export Import Bank of India. Then we have NHB, National Housing Bank. Then we have SEBI, Small Industrial Development Bank of India. Nowadays we have a new entry, that is Mudra Bank, as well as we have one more institute, that is NABFID. So these are termed as All India Financial Institutes. Moving ahead, if I talk about the first one, that is regulatory bodies. In case of regulatory bodies, we have the banking regulatory body, which is termed as Reserve Bank of India. Then we have financial market regulatory body. We call it as Security and Exchange Board of India. Then we have the insurance regulatory body. We call it as IRDAI, that is Insurance Regulatory and Development Authority of India. Is it clear? So these are termed as what? So these are termed as the regulatory bodies which are responsible for managing the financial institutions, or I would say the financial sector organizations in the country. The first one, we have RBI, then we have SEBI, then we have IRDAI. Even I can include NABARD in the same category. Why I should include NABARD in the same category? The reason is very obvious, that NABARD is the regulator of the NABARD. If we say, then NABARD is the regulator of what? So NABARD is basically the regulator of rural industry, the rural sector. The management of rural industry is done with the help of NABARD itself. That is the reason we can include over here. Now, if I talk more of the banking institutions, so banking institutions are further categorized into two categories, broad categories: scheduled bank and non-scheduled bank. How many of you are aware of scheduled and non-scheduled banks? See, scheduled banks are those banks which are mentioned or which fulfill the criteria which is very clearly mentioned under second schedule of RBI Act 1934. According to the second schedule of RBI Act 1934, the first condition is bank should be a company, not a firm. So if a financial institute is registered as a company, not a firm, then it is eligible to be termed as scheduled bank, first category. Second is bank should fulfill the RBI norms and it should operate as per the RBI's rules and regulations. And the third category is bank should abide by the RBI compliances. The moment bank fulfill the RBI compliances, then RBI provide the license to an institution to be termed as bank. Last but not the least is at least public deposit of that bank should be minimum 5 lakh rupees, then the bank will be termed as scheduled bank. So in India, all the banks you are aware of, all the banks you have ever heard of, SBI, or I would say PNB, maybe ICICI, HSBC, all these banks which you know to, or all the banks to which you have ever made a transaction, majorly they are scheduled banks. Scheduled banks are further classified into two categories. The first one we have commercial bank, then the next one we have non-commercial banks. If I say commercial banks, so commercial banks means those banks which are operating with the sole motive of earning profit, And if I talk about these banks, then in commercial bank category we have public sector bank. Those banks which are working with the motive of earning profit but owned by government are termed as public sector bank. Then we have private banks. Then we have foreign banks, the banks which possess their headquarters outside India but now they are operating in India. They are termed as foreign banks. And the last one we have is RRB's regional rural banks. The bank which do not fulfill the criteria of a commercial bank, that means it is either not working to earn profit or the bank is not registered as a corporation or a company, then it cannot be termed as commercial bank. So the non-commercial bank includes the cooperative banks, because these banks, they are not registered under Companies Act, rather they are registered under Cooperative Societies Act, and they are termed as non-commercial bank because they are not corporates, they are not companies, they are the organizations which are registered under Cooperative Societies Act 1912. Clear, guys? Moving ahead. Many banks are still prevailing in the economy which are termed as non-scheduled banks. They are still operating, but major banks which are operating and with which you are dealing on the day-to-day basis, they fall under the category of scheduled banks only. If I talk about NBFCs, NBFCs are further divided into different categories depending upon their operations. We have different types of NBFCs which are categorized on the basis of their operation, investment, and their asset calculations. So in the upcoming sessions, we will be discussing about each and every point which is clearly mentioned on the screen. All these points will be discussed in much detail, and that is what we call as the financial institution of the country. Is it clear, everyone? So financial institutes include organized sector, regulatory bodies, banking institutions. Then we have the non-banking institutes and unorganized sector, which include the local money lenders and many more. These sectors, they are not regulated. There is no rule and regulation. If anything goes wrong with you in these sectors, you have no capacity to approach in front of law, in front of judiciary to seek help against these issues, because these issues are very clearly mentioned that they are unorganized sector. There is no rule and regulation operating in the economy. Clear? Now, there is one more important point. Whenever we talk about a bank now, with respect to bank, there is a term that is known as Banking Regulation Act 1949. I don't know how many of you have heard about it. Banking Regulation Act 1949, then it was amended and it was changed, or it was renamed in 1969 as Banking Regulation Act. Earlier it was termed as Banking Companies Act 1949. Later on it was renamed in 1969 as Banking Regulation Act. Now, my simple question to everyone out there who all are listening to me, what do you understand by a bank, or how you define a term bank? If I ask you a simple question, what is a bank, then what will be your answer? How you define a word bank? What will be your answer? Quickly give me the reply in the comment section, everyone. So, Banking Regulation Act 1949, it was renamed, one second, it was renamed in 1966. Please correct this. It was renamed in 1966. If I ask you, what do you understand by the term bank, then how you are going to define this term? So whenever we use this term bank and how we are going to define a term bank, so bank basically means a place where we witness collection and distribution of resources. For example, we have river bank where water is collected and then it is distributed. We have blood bank. These days we have food bank, and we have the financial institutes, that is bank. So bank in general terms is a place where collection of resources is done and then distribution of the resources is done at the same place, that is termed as bank. But the bank which I am talking about, it's basically a financial institute, and a financial institute is termed as bank if it performs the banking operations, and the banking operations are defined under Banking Regulation Act 1949. That means an institute will be termed as bank only and only if an institute will be termed as bank only and only if the institute fulfills the criteria to be termed as a banking institute. And what is a banking institute? So banking institute is an institute which is involved in accepting deposits, providing loan, and many other functions defined under Banking Regulation Act 1949 is termed as banking institute, and a banking institute is termed as a bank. I don't know how many of you are aware of this term, but that is true. Bank is not a legal term, or I would say bank is a general term which can be used with any of the generic context where collection and distribution is done. For example, river bank, for example, blood bank, for example, food bank. But The bank which we are studying, financial institutes, those are the institutes which are termed as banking institutes according to the Banking Regulation Act 1949. So Banking Regulation Act gave the legal existence to the banking sector. Secondly, Banking Regulation Act was the act which has defined the requirement of minimum capital. Now, if you want to set up a bank, the minimum capital requirement is 1000 crore, which was 5 lakh in 1949. Before that, there was no minimum capital requirement. Next is Banking Regulation Act gave the power to RBI that RBI will be responsible to regulate, monitor, inspect and provide license to an institute which will be termed as bank. So RBI is the regulatory body of the banking sector, but the power to regulate the banking sector is given to RBI under the Banking Regulation Act 1949. So that is the reason Banking Regulation Act 1949 is one of the important act which is basically, I would say, the foundation of the concept that RBI is responsible for the regulation of the banking sector. The power was given by the power to regulate the banking sector was given to RBI according to the Banking Regulation Act 1949. RBI was set up back in 1935, but this power was given to RBI in 1949 after independence, when Banking Regulation Act was introduced, or Banking Company Act was introduced in 1949. So these are the concepts which you must learn in order to clear your upcoming examination. So I have given you a brief idea about the financial institutes. Now we will be moving ahead. And we will be talking about the second term, that is financial market. Now, what is a financial market? So financial market is a place which provides you a platform where you can invest your funds, and you can invest your funds in the financial instruments. For example, if you don't want to deposit your funds in a bank, if you don't want to invest your funds in an insurance company or NBFC, then you can invest your funds directly into the corporates, into the companies, into the government institutions with the help of a place which is termed as financial market. As we know, market is a place where sale and purchase of goods and services is done, but financial market is a place where trading of financial instruments is done. Now this market is divided into two categories. The first one we have money market, the second one capital market. The market where trading of short-term instruments is done, that is the instrument with validity less than 1 year, that market is termed as money market. And the instruments where the trading is done for more than 1 year validity instruments, that is basically termed as capital market. In case of financial market, we have a regulator. The regulator of financial market is SEBI. To be very precise, I would say SEBI is the regulator of capital market and RBI is the regulator of money market. Now, if I talk about the financial instruments, these financial instruments are further categorized into two categories. One is termed as short term and the other is termed as long term. On the other side, we have different types of financial instruments where we have primary, secondary and innovation instruments, which we will be discussing in the next class. So till now we have talked about two components. One is financial institution, the other one is financial market. Today at 9 p.m. on testbook.com we have a master class, and in that master class I will be discussing with you the next area, that is financial instruments as well as financial services. Even I'll discuss the financial market in much detail. So do not forget to join with me today at 9 p.m. on testbook.com masterclass, where we will be discussing two important areas. One is financial instrument and financial services. So this session is going to be in this manner. We have two regular sessions. One is at 8 p.m. on YouTube. Then the second session will be at 9 p.m. on testbook.com, that is the masterclass where we will be covering the entire topic. So today's agenda is the financial the Indian financial system. So we will be covering the Indian financial system half on the YouTube and rest half will be covered in the masterclass. So that will be all from my side, guys. We'll catch you at 9 p.m. on the other side in a masterclass. Till then, take care of yourself and revise the terms which I just discussed, and I will be meeting you all at 9 p.m. to cover the rest of the topic. Thank you so much. Good luck. Take care. Bye.